What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm your host, Eric Wilson. Today, joined by my co-host, singular, Colin Alcaves. Because Will, he's the worst co-host of all time. He says he's able to record, so I get trio graphics, and then we're about to record, and then he's like, I got to go eat more pizza. I'm just kidding. I love Will. I'm sad he can't be here today. But I'm here with Colin, and today we're going to be talking about Christopher James Kreider and an alternative option that the Rangers could possibly take. We know last season, Drury put out that memo, said, I kind of want to trade Kreider. Not sure where he lies, where his thoughts lie at this point in time. New season coming up. Kreider will be healthier this year, might have a bounce back season. So I'm not sure if Drury is still looking to move on from Kreider, but Kreider does have that 15-team no-trade list. Could complicate things if he goes down the route of a trade. So here's an alternative option. Could the Rangers or should the Rangers buy out Chris Kreider? That's what we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to get right on into that. But before we do, make sure you guys like, subscribe, ring that bell so you miss notification. Leave your thoughts down in that comment section below. And be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms at Fireside Rangers. But Colin, my buddy, before I even ask you how you're doing, I have an announcement to make. Colin and I are going to be going to the Winter Classic this year. Rangers versus Panthers down here in sunny Florida, even though it's hurricane season and it's been raining for like a week straight. So whether you live in Florida or you're flying down for the game, feel free to message me or Colin. We'll meet up. We'll say hi at the game. I know we're a little whiles away, but just want to put that out there. I'm still excited because we just bought tickets a few hours ago. So yeah, Colin, how you doing?
I'm good. Excited for the Winter Classic. It's going to be pretty sick. It should be a good time. Hopefully we'll get to meet some of these FSR fans out there. We'll be wearing the hats, I'm sure, repping the brand, also repping the Rangers. Excited to see what jerseys they come out with.
I didn't even think about that. I hope, honestly, I've said this the last couple of outdoor games and the last time we've had specialty jerseys. I want to see a jersey where the primary color is red. All the jerseys in our team history have been primarily blue, primarily white. Imagine we get that red. Nice red jersey.
It was rumored last season when we did or 2 years ago when we did the Islanders one, that was going to be a red jersey. So I guess we'll see, and then we'll have Will do a fashion review as we have with all the other.
Yes, I'm very excited for that. Will is a man of many trades, and fashion review is one of them. Will is a bit of a fashionista. But
yeah, I'm good. I'm excited for the game. Excited to talk Rangers. Not excited to talk about getting rid of Chris Kreider personally. But you got to explore all the avenues, try and think inside the mind of Drury and what you would do as an NHL GM. So that's kind of what we'll be doing here today.
Yeah, I'll start off by saying, the evidence is there. Anyone that watched our videos from last year, I was an advocate for moving on from Kreider. I get it. He's been with the team for over a decade, the longest tenured Ranger. There's some emotions there. But, last season I kind of felt, it's a business. Sometimes you got to do bad things to good people, make the tough decisions. And I thought it was time to move on from Kreider. Looking back on it now, though, there was a lot that we didn't know at the time. Kreider was playing through a handful of injuries that we were just unaware of. So I think if he can come back and he's healthy this season, I personally vote we keep him. It's not my call. It's Drury's call, but I'm willing to give him another shot. Definitely not in a top 6 role anymore. Maybe on the third line, I think would be a productive place for him to play. But I'm just going to put that out there right off the bat. I take it back. I think the Rangers should keep Kreider. But if they are going to move on from him, trade is obviously the best route. But like I said, 15-team no trade clause could complicate things. So they might have to go into the buyout area of options. So we'll break down the numbers there and everything. But I'll let you give your opinion on how you think the Rangers should handle Kreider.
I say Kreider is he's a fan favorite, or he was a fan favorite. I know there's a little bit. The fan base is torn on him now. He was a guy who for a while he could not seem to actually get that breakout year. He didn't touch 30 goals forever, and now he can't seem to score less than 40 pretty much. He's been pretty consistent other than last year. He had not 40 every year, but he's had in the last 4 seasons 52 goals, 36 goals, 39 goals, and then 22 goals, obviously, in that rough season for him. And 2 seasons ago, he had his highest point total, or second highest point total, with the most assists he's had in his career. So his game was rounding out. until everything fell off a cliff last year. I think it's an anomaly. Like I said, I think the team being bad last year was an anomaly. I think that you can attribute his poor play to that, along with the injuries. I think they should have shut him down earlier. I think it left a bad taste in fans' mouths seeing how he played. And then, everybody's like, oh, he was injured, but then he shouldn't have been playing through an injury, especially with the team, struggling how they were. It would have been better to just chalk it up and get healthy. But, hockey players, they always want to play through injury. But, I'm a big proponent of, I don't know, I want to say I want to keep him, but he makes a lot of money, and you can clear a lot of money off the books in a team that might be interested in him.
Make a lot of money.
Make $6.5 million. So it's a pretty friendly deal, a deal that a lot of teams could get under their cap ceiling if they were looking to add him as a rental. I don't know. I'm extremely torn because I love Kreider. He was one of my first jerseys that I ever got. He's Captain Clutch in the playoffs. He scores a lot of big goals. When the lights shine brightest, he shows up pretty much every time. So it's hard to say I want to get rid of him, especially because, like you said, he is the longest tenured Ranger. But sometimes you got to remember that it's a business and you got to do what's best for the team. And, clearing that cap and making room for a younger player to move up the ranks might be what is best for the team. It depends on what's out there if you were to trade him, or who you would be trying to acquire if you were to move his money off the books. It's all circumstantial for me, depending on who we're getting and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, that is an important factor as well, because earlier in the episode, I mentioned how I would like to keep him, but maybe in a more limited role, third line type of player. Now, that might purely be biased because I like the guy. It's kind of the same situation we talk about with Mika Zibanejad, where you're not going to have a guy making that much money as your third line center. Like, you pay him that much, and like same thing with like Panarin. Panarin will never play in the bottom six. He's always going to be in the top six as long as he was with the Rangers and he's playing as well as he is. Realistically speaking, putting a guy making $6.5 million on your third line, limiting his power play time, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So that's another factor you have to include and think about. And the other thing is just the overall general future of the team. Look at the last couple of episodes that we've put up, talking about a potential Connor McDavid acquisition, JJ Peterka. There's a whole bunch of new players that the Rangers are most likely going to be trying to bring in. They also have younger guys that need extensions as well. Gabe Perreault at some point is going to be off of his ELC. So is Brennan Othman already this year. Keandre Miller potentially needs a new contract. Will Cooley needs a new contract. And the list is just going to keep going on and on and on as the years go by, as more and more contracts expire. So is it worth it keeping a guy making $6.5 million on your roster just because you like him? I don't know. That's the tough part. And I'm sticking to what I said at the beginning. I think we should keep him, but I have to say I would understand why if the Rangers chose to buy him out. But let's talk about this buyout. Buyouts are a little confusing in the NHL. Financially wise, but I know, Colin, you were looking at Puckpedia. Can you break down some of the numbers for me about what it would look like?
So based on what Puckpedia was saying, it says that it would have a cap savings early on of $3.5 million, $2.5 million for the next two seasons, but then in the 27-28 season and the 28-29 season, we would have dead cap of $1.5 million in each of those. It's pretty feasible when you look at it. And the immediate cap relief would be huge. But I doubt they go that route. I'd be shocked if they did. I think they're more likely to explore the trade route. I think that's a very unceremonious way for it to end for Chris Kreider and his time.
I mean, that's how it ended for Hank, right?
Yeah, but that was more of a mutual buyout. He still wanted to play, and we had Shesterkin and Georgiev, and it was like he still thought he could start, and he could have had he not had the heart thing.
Valid.
Well, that was more of a respectful. It was like, you still have time left, and we're not going to play you as much as you'd like to play. Whereas Kreider, it's like, we're not going to not play him. We could still very much use him. It's just a matter of which route we want to go, which direction they want to head in terms of saving the money and extending these younger players, or maybe going and trying to get a Peterka, as we said, or a McDavid, or a Marner, or a Rossi. There's a lot of moving pieces in the NHL this year alone. A lot of young players up for grabs. The free agency list is not as good as it's going to be in the future, but still pretty solid and substantial. And the amount of things you could do with that money would go a long way, even if it was just putting it towards defensemen, as we've discussed in previous episodes, like Gavrikov, Orlov, things like that. $6.5 million can go a long way. So it's just a matter of what Drury sees and what he wants to do, and whether he thinks you need that immediate cap relief, or whether he thinks that keeping a guy like Kreider, which I agree, keeping a guy like Kreider will still benefit your team through the end of his contract.
I mean, I guess we'll have to see. We can sit here and give our opinions on it as much as we want, but at the end of the day, we aren't Chris Kreider. I would like to safely say that he wants to stay in New York. I would assume he wants to remain a Ranger, doesn't want to pack up and move across the country, but who knows at this point, the way that he's been treated over the last year, maybe he's over it and he's going to waive that no trade clause and make this a whole lot easier on Drury. But like I said, we don't know. All we can do is wait and see. So whatever happens, we'll be here to talk about it. So until that day comes, make sure you guys like, subscribe, ring that bell so you don't miss notification. Be sure to leave your thoughts down in that comment section below, and be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms at Fireside Rangers. But like I said, see y'all at the Winter Classic. It'll be fun. DM us on Twitter. Usually the graphics say our Twitters. Not today because Will bailed and I don't have duo graphics. Boom. Thanks, Will. Have a good one. And let's go Rangers.